Hello everyone, this is Chili, and today we're going to be reviewing the Phoenix Arms 25 caliber ACP. Alright, let's jump right into it because we have a lot to cover. So first we're going to start off with the weight. Set this here. So we're going to do a couple of different weights here. One is going to be loaded. Now, before I start, just to show everyone, safety off, there is nothing in the chamber, no magazine, okay? Completely safe. Drop the hammer, safety. This has a few safeties, we're going to go into that later. But, so, we're going to place this here. And in order to get the loaded weight safely, loaded magazine, 9 rounds. Gonna place that right on here. And for the one in the chamber, to get a complete weight of 21.48 ounces. All right. Now, for those of you that like to carry without it, one in the chamber, 21.31 ounces. Now what we're going to do here is unload the magazine. And for those of you that want to know, unloaded without the magazine in, 18.17 ounces. Unloaded with the magazine in, 19.65 ounces. All right, let me take this away now. Now we're going to go into some measurements here. Now we're going to, getting the ruler out here. We're going to start off with, because this is important for some people as far as grip is concerned, from the trigger to the rear of the grip, we're looking at right around 2 3/4 inches. Okay. Now this is something that I haven't seen measured often, and I'm going to start measuring them in my reviews. And it's important to some people because you see the grip here. Grip here, my pinky, and I have small to medium hands, the pinky barely holds on, but some people with bigger hands, it might not. And I've seen guys review grip, the grips of a firearm with their hands and go, hey, my hand is this size and that size. Now I'm going to give you an actual measurement from the bottom of the trigger guard down to the base plate. This way you can take your hand, measure it, and see exactly where it'll fit. So we're getting right around 2 inches. This way you can compare with your hands to see if this is something that you would like. And they also sell extended pinky base plates. I don't have one, but maybe I'll pick one up and do a quick little video on that. Moving right along, the height, we are at just under, just right around 4 inches, right around 4 inches. The length from the very tip of the barrel all the way across here, right at that beaver tail, we're about 5.5 inches. The barrel length, let me get this here opened, right at 3 inches, right at 3 inches from the barrel. The width of this is try to get it from the widest points, which is, seems like the grip. I'm trying to get the light here, I'm sorry. We're just over 3/4 of an inch. Just over that. And another in case you guys are planning to use gloves or have big fingers, just to kind of get you a quick little reference here. I'm going to measure the trigger guard. So from the front of the trigger guard to the trigger, where, what is that, 6/8 of an inch, and top to bottom we're at also about, well, yeah, about 6/8 of an inch. All right, now we're going to get into the functions here. So this is a single action only, which means that here nothing will happen. You have to either bring the hammer back or cock it back, sorry about that, in order to actually pull the trigger and have one action, single action. Pull the trigger, hammer comes down. Double action would be, actually I have a firearm here for reference, the Beretta PX4 Storm. And see, double action is when you pull, let me take it off safety, when you pull the trigger and you see the hammer coming back, that's the first action, and the second action is the hammer coming forward. By the way, all these firearms for reference have been safety checked. That's a snap cap in there. And single action, just like the Phoenix arms. So this does both. This does double action and single action. This is only single action, like the 1911s. Not to be confused with striker fire, which is a whole nother video, but yeah. The hammer is exposed, as you can see, and has some, not the best, but some serrations on there for a little grip. And let's talk about the safeties, because this has plenty. There's safety modifications that I've made. We're going to leave that towards the end of the video, but for now, the safeties that it has is this fire pin block safety. So right now, red is fire. When you bring this down, it has a plate that blocks, that comes in between the hammer and the firing pin. So this way, when you cock the hammer back, and if you were, I'm not going to dry fire this, but if you were to fire it, it'll strike the plate and not the firing pin, and not shoot the round. The other safety is this here, the slide catch, a slide stop, I'm sorry. So this does not hold open on the last round. So, but you can bring this up, and if you need to safety check, or you want to hold it open and for any other reason, you can do so manually here, but it does not hold open on the last round. What it also does, when you have the slide forward and you bring this up, it will not let you pull the trigger. You see the trigger, the hammer wants to release, but it doesn't. So this is another safety here. The mag does not drop freely, and that goes more into the internals and the modifications that are made that I'll go over afterwards. But if you press the mag release, it drops somewhat, but doesn't drop free. You have to actually rip it out. And to assist with that, there's a little bit of a notch cut out right here, so that this way, when you do drop it, I mean, you can grab it from here, but also you can kind of stick your fingernail here and just kind of rip it right out of the mag well. Now, as far as racking the slide back, when you do have the hammer up, it is very tough because you have to, this is spring loaded and you have that weight fighting against you. So when you rack it back, the first time it's a little tough, but after that hammer is down and for whatever reason you need to clear a jam or something like that, it is a lot easier to do so. There doesn't seem to be a round in the chamber indicator, like for instance, going back to the Beretta here, I don't know if you could see it right here, the extractor. When there is a round in the chamber, there's a just a little bit, there's a little red paint right here. And when there's a round in the chamber, this protrudes out a little bit, and there is because there's a safety cap in there. And it allows you to look down and see that red paint, and it will show that there is in fact a round in the chamber. This does not have that. This does not have that at all. The round, the extractor is external. You could see it right there. This does not have any accessory rails. You know, this isn't really made for that. This is, well, so some smaller firearms do have it, but this is really a, you know, a pocket pistol or a toy, you know, to plink at the range. I mean, some people carry it. You know, they trust their life to it, and you know, any firearm for the most part is you know, reliable to a certain extent, as long as you maintain it well. And like I said earlier, this does not have a, sorry, I'm going by my notes here, so I think I've touched on a couple things, but I'm just gonna make sure I get every point, even if I bring it up twice. Sorry about that. But this does not have a last round hold open. This is it's a manual hold open, but it does not hold open automatically on the last round fired. Now let's go into some of the textures of the firearm, like the grip textures here. It's not the best. It's some, you know, you get a bit of a grip, but you know, you really don't need much with it because it's a 25, and as you saw, the firearm is pretty heavy for a little 25. You know what? Let me do a comparison real quick. This is unloaded. Let's bring this out again. So we have this Phoenix Arms chambered in 25, and I have a little Ruger LCP chambered in 380, and they're more or less the same height, same width, you know, not exactly, but more or less the same dimensions. All right, we're both unloaded on both. We're going to drop this down again. What do we have unloaded? 19.68, yeah, 19.68 ounces. .88 ounces. We got almost double the weight on this because this is an all steel frame. You know, the lower is polymer on this, the upper is steel. But yeah, so this soaks up a lot of recoil, especially for a little 25 ACP. So you really don't need rough serrations on here to manage the recoil at all. So that's that. We do have serrations on the slide. They're okay, they're decent. Like I said, it is a little bit tough to pull back, especially on the first one. After the second one's a little easier, but they're there and they help. None in the front here. We already talked about the hammer serrations there. You know, they're there. They're not the best, but you know, there's enough meat on the hammer to be able to cock it back manually with your thumb if you don't want to do it with the slide. We do have trigger serrations here. I'm not sure how much they help. Really, again, they're They're not the best, but they're there. You can feel them a bit. And no serrations here on the guard. Sometimes you have serrations here in the front. This one doesn't seem to have it. And like I said earlier, this is all steel construction. You know, steel upper and lower. No polymer frame or anything like that. Now we're going to go into the sights, which the sights are okay. I mean, you can already see the back sights are kind of fixed into the upper here, the slide, and you do have kind of like this piece of plastic stuck in between these two rails here, and you can adjust. Where is it? Here we go. You can adjust for windage, and the front sight is just a fixed post with these serrations or steps. I mean, I hope these are not for elevation because you really can't see that well. And you know, I don't really think anybody's going to be shooting this at long distances. But yeah, so that's all the textures of the firearm here. We've already talked about the firearm being steel lower and the slide as well. The magazine capacity. So the magazine for the 25 auto is 9+1, which in New York City, again, I'm from New York City, you can have a magazine that holds 10, but you're only allowed to load 7 in it. So I know that is very odd, but it's a 9+1. The hp22s come 10+1, which is still within the legal limit, but you're only allowed to hold 7 rounds in the magazine. 7+1. Just want to clear that up. So you know, I don't want people to think that it's 7 total. 7+1. So, and you can't own any magazines that hold more than 10. So 10 is okay. After 10, you know, you'll have a problem. But so this is 9+1. The magazine is steel with a plastic base plate here, and here's the follower, simple flat follower. There are witness holes for the rounds, and they're pretty good actually. They're pretty good. I don't know if you saw earlier, but when I lined up when I showed you that the magazine was full, you could see all the rounds in there pretty well. And now I'm going to show you how to disassemble the magazine, which is pretty much like most of these magazines. And you know, like the Glock. I know Glock's very famous, infamous gun. Everybody knows about the Glock. So if you know how to disassemble Glock magazine, it's pretty much the same thing here, but there's a little hole there with the base plate in there. You just kind of push in, then you take the plate and slide it forward, and as you can see, I've missed that hole once or twice. So I got that little gash in the base plate, but no big deal. And you just kind of bring it forward. Now, for you guys that are new, guys and gals that are new out there and want to try this on your own with any of your firearms, make sure to put your thumb here first, because when you bring that base plate forward all the way, you have, well, this one's jamming on me, but you have the spring that might want to shoot out. Now this one doesn't have much, it doesn't protrude much. Some of the other springs kind of want to shoot out a little higher, but this one doesn't shoot out so much. And then let's bring this out. You have the follower there, the spring, the correct me, give me the right terminology, let me know. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I'm going to call this the inner base plate, what goes actually into the body of the magazine, and then you have the base plate that stops it from coming out. And there is your magazine disassembled. Now let's reassemble it just in reverse. Put the follower, the spring in, Same thing here. You kind of want to take your thumb or your finger and hold down this inner base plate. Take your base plate here, and hold on a second. Let me just get it right on the camera here. And start sliding it back. Now once you get it to a good point, sorry, there we go. Now once you get it to a good point, you don't really have to hold your finger down, except for that little nipple there that goes into that hole. You want to just bring it down some so it clears it, and then you come back all the way, and it's not in the hole yet. So what I had to do when I did this the first couple times is smack it so that that plate comes forward and up back into its home. I'm sorry, the other way, forward. There we go. See? Now it's back in there. And we're ready to go. Stick the magazine back in here. Now for the fun part, we're gonna field strip this. And for those of you that have owned this or have seen other videos on this, it's well, it's not the worst, but it's pretty damn annoying. So here you have this this plate here with these two prongs that protrude out. You have them on the other side here too, because you're going to grab both of them and you're going to pull forward. Now for this firearm, most firearms you have to take the magazine out, but for this you have to actually make sure the magazine is in. It doesn't matter what position this safety's in. This you actually have to make sure it's in the fire position, not here, because you're going to have to bring the slide to the rear some to be able to get this out. So make sure it's in the fire position. Now we're going to go ahead and bring this. When I bring this forward, you might see the barrel pop up just a little. No. All right, so I'm going to have to manually bring this up. There we go. Now that it's up a little, you're going to have to bring the slide back and bring this barrel up a little bit at the same time. It's hard to do. Hold on, let me get it better. Usually I kind of hold it to my body so I can get a little leverage on it. So trying to do it in front of me, it's a little harder, but there we go. Now there's a spring in here. The recoil, the spring and the guide rod. Well, there's no guide rod on here, but where the guide rod would go, the spring here. You have to make sure that as this barrel's coming up and the slide's coming back, you put your finger in there, because that spring will shoot out at you. All right, just to hold it down a little bit. But there we go. Now, if you can get it all the way back to where you can hold it open with the manual slide stop. And now you can take this and pull the barrel right out. Now you put the slot release down and bring this down and slide it forward. And now you're gonna have to come up over the round ejector and come forward. Here's the slide. Here's the spring here with this piece. I guess you can consider this the guide rod, the shortest guide rod in history. But yeah, that is a pain in the neck. But that is how you field strip. Not a full disassemble, just a field strip for cleaning. Now we're going to put this back together. It's actually a little easier to put back together, actually a lot easier. And I'm going to show you why. So you're going to take this piece here and you're going to, I don't know if you could see this bar up here, you're going to bring this piece just underneath it. And then this comes back down here. All right. Now what you're going to do with your slide is you have to make sure that you come just over the ejector, I'm sorry, the ejector, and the spring is starting to hit this plate here. What you're going to do is you're going to, with your finger, hold this down, and as you come back, that's going to come down, and then you're going to be able to get the slide and the rail to connect there, and you're going to come holding your finger down, because that spring does want to shoot out. Holding your finger down on that spring, you're going to want to slide this back. Oh, let's try this again. That didn't work so well. All right. Again, this is a pain in the neck. This is the main reason why I don't take this one out so much, because to put it back together to clean is just a pain in the neck. But yeah, so we're gonna come all the way back and engage the slide stop. Now, for the most part, I've noticed that once I do that, see, the spring is compressed all the way, but will not jump out at you at this point. So you're a little freer to handle the firearm now in this position. Now, to insert the barrel back, it's going to be a little tough to see, but there is a bar right there. Okay, and you're going to notice that. Let me hold on a second. You're going to notice this right here. This is you stick this part into that bar at an angle. All right, so we're going to come in at an angle. There we go. All right, now once you got that down, it's going to be a lot easier. You're going to come all the way down until you hear a click. All right, now all you have to do is just release the slide. That's it. And make sure everything's functioning okay. All right. Oh, having an issue here with the magazine. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. All right, let's try that again. Okay. All right, much better. All right, so that is how you field strip this gun. That's no picnic. All right, it's a lot harder than like the Glock or the Beretta. Let me show you. Let me just show you for you new guys out there that don't really have anything to reference to. This is a Glock 23. All right, this is how you disassemble, field strip, and reassemble a Glock. Trigger's already fired. Snap cap there. I always keep my firearms with snap caps, like I've said time and time again, but I also make sure that I pull the trigger so there's no tension on the spring, because I don't get to the range as much as I'd like to, so I don't like to keep the tension on the spring, which is another reason for the snap cap. So I, besides not liking to dry fire them without snap caps. So what you would do to field strip a Glock is that you would make sure that the magazine's out, that you pull the trigger in a safe direction. You have these two little tabs here that you don't pull forward, you pull down. And I almost forgot, you just have to take your thumb in your hand here and just kind of give it a what's called a press check, just a slight press check Right there is good enough. Tabs down, comes forward, guide rod, barrel, slide. That is it. That is it. Now we're going to put this all right back together. Grab the slide, insert the barrel, guide rod, take the lower and the upper, make sure the rails line up, and that's it. Good to go. Before I pull the trigger on that, just make sure I get the snap cap in there. Alright, and we're done. A lot easier than field stripping this thing. Alright. Lastly, we're going to go into the very famous safety mods that people do to this firearm, that I have done to this firearm myself. And it's already done, so I'm not going to show you how to do it. I'll explain it, but there's other videos of people actually doing it. It's not very difficult. Take those two screws off, and you remove the grip. And now we go into the internals. So typically, what would happen is when you have the gun on on fire, there would be normally a piece of metal here that you can see is already seared off that would go behind the trigger, the magazine release button. So when the gun is in fire, you wouldn't be able to press the mag release and you wouldn't be able to get the mag out. Yeah, I know, that's ridiculously silly. I have no idea why that is. So what people usually do, what I have done, is sear this off, and now whether in safe or fire, you can release the magazine. The other thing people do is see this piece of metal here? Now this is actually considered part of the firearm, part of the frame. So if you were to cut this, you would actually void the warranty. As far as this piece is concerned here, this is a separate piece. You can order it straight from Phoenix Arms for $5 plus shipping, I guess. And if they have a great warranty, by the way, if you were to ever have any issues, you just remove this piece out, you drop in the replacement piece that doesn't have the modifications on it, send it to them, have them fix whatever has to be fixed, and when you get it back, you just put this right back on there. But this part here, like I said, is considered part of the firearm. So if you modify this, if you cut this, they will not. The warranty is the warranty is void, and you cannot send it back to them for any type of repairs whatsoever. So what myself and other people tend to do is, instead of cutting this piece, so that this, because what happens is when you have the magazine out, normally the magazine pushes this piece out. When you slide the magazine, it pushes this piece out. When the magazine is out, this piece comes in, and at that point you can't take the firearm off of safety unless the magazine is in. So what we do is we just take a piece of pliers and bend just the tip of it back, so that even when the magazine is out, there's just enough bend that this safety can slide behind it. You see? Comes right behind it. This way you can activate the safety, you can release the mag, drop the mag without the magazine being in. See, now it's out. You can still activate it. Safety is when the gun is in fire, you can still release the mag. Now, it just dropped free. Normally it won't do that because the grips add a little pressure to this part here. So that's why the firearm isn't, the magazine doesn't function that way with the grip on there. I wish it did, but it doesn't. If anybody knows how to fix that, maybe there's some more modifications that can be done so that it works and it drops free like that, please let me know. But yeah, so let's put this back together. Very simple. You just, in any position, doesn't matter which way. The safety can be up or down. Just put the grip back on there, and you just screw. Take the 2 screws. All right, and we are done. Okay, and that is it. That is a full, in-depth, lengthy, long, but detailed review of the Phoenix Arms 25 caliber ACP. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you like this video, please subscribe, like the video, share it with everyone you know. I showcased a couple of the firearms for reference in this video. My first video has all my handguns. My second video has all my long guns. I'm not sure which one I'm going to review next, but if you guys have any preferences on which ones you'd like me to review, please let me know, and I'll consider doing those first. Oh, and there is one other thing, one other feature to this gun that I like, that a couple other firearms have, that I wanted to show that I forgot. As you can see, the slide, there's no hood, completely open, as opposed to a Glock slide, for example. Get the snap cap out of there, where you still have some meat on the side. See? And even other firearms not only have, like this Beretta, get that snap cap out of there, meat on the side as well, but there's also this overhang over the top. Now, the reason why I like this design better, the Beretta 92 have this design as well, is that this allows for I guess less of a chance of having what's called a stovepipe malfunction. Stovepipe malfunction, for those of you that don't know, is when you fire a round and the shell wants to eject but gets caught up in this housing, and before another round can be loaded into the chamber, you get this malfunction here, and a lot of times it's caused because of this. So this feature, since there is no meat on the side and no hood over the top, greatly diminishes the chances of a failure like that. Sorry, I didn't touch on that before, but I definitely wanted to point that out. But yeah, so like I was saying, I am done. Thank you for watching, everyone. Till the next time, have a good day. Bye.